A gentle awakening. Emily Adams had always believed that life, like the slow turning of the seasons in her quaint hometown of Ashford, held secrets that would one day unfurl in the names of love, friendship, and the soft blossoming of self-discovery. At 35, she often found herself reflecting on the path that had led her away from and back to the warm embrace of her roots. Ashford, with its tree-lined streets, vintage storefronts, and tightly knit community, had a way of rekindling dormant dreams and encouraging even the most guarded hearts to open once again. It was on a crisp autumn morning, when golden leaves danced along the sidewalks and the promise of change filled the air, that Emily returned to the town that had cradled her childhood memories. She had spent the early part of her adult life in the bustling corridors of New York City, chasing ambitions and succumbing to the frenetic pace of urban living. But as the years passed, the cacophony of city life gave way to a yearning for authenticity and belonging, a longing that led her back to Ashford, where time itself seemed to slow to a gentle, rhythmic pulse. The small town exuded a quiet charm. Its residents greeted one another with a familiar smile, and every corner of the town square echoed with stories both old and new. In a modest cafe on Main Street, Emily found solace in a space filled with the aroma of fresh coffee and the soft murmur of conversation. There, she reconnected with her friend Catherine Reynolds, someone who had been like a sister since childhood. Catherine, warm and outspoken, had weathered her own storms and yet radiated a resilient joy that inspired those around her. Their reunion was filled with laughter and a few teary moments. "I missed you, Emily. I missed the way you made everything seem possible," Catherine whispered, her voice trembling with emotion as she reached across the small table to grasp Emily's hand. In that tender moment, Emily felt the old bonds of friendship knitting her heart together once more. As days merged into weeks, Emily began to immerse herself in the rhythms of town life. She took long walks along winding roads bordered by maple and oak trees, often pausing to watch the sunset paint the sky in hues of pink, orange, and soft lavender. In these moments of quiet introspection, she started to understand that her return was not just a physical journey back to Ashford but an inner pilgrimage towards rediscovering who she truly was. The introspection was powerful and sometimes startling, yet she discovered that every step taken along those familiar paths was a step towards healing old wounds and embracing new beginnings. One breezy afternoon, while strolling through the town's modest park, Emily encountered Jack Mason, a man with kind eyes and a gentle smile, who was, at that moment, feeding the ducks by the pond. Jack, who had grown up in Ashford, had his own story etched in quiet bravery. His rugged hands and thoughtful demeanor contrasted with the fragility of his past heartbreaks. "It looks like you're rediscovering Ashford, too," he remarked as he noticed her gaze wandering over the water. His warm tone invited conversation, and soon a genuine connection blossomed between them. In the soft, amber light of early evening, the two sat on a weathered bench, sharing stories of past triumphs and hidden sorrows. "Leaving Ashford was my way of hiding from my mistakes," Jack confessed slowly, his voice heavy with regret and hope. "But being back, it's like every moment here gives me the courage to face them head-on." Emily listened with empathetic intensity, feeling the weight of his words mirror her own feelings about returning home after years of self-imposed exile. Their dialogue, filled with sincerity and gentle humor, laid the foundation for a budding romance that neither had anticipated. Over the following months, Ashford became the stage upon which Emily began to weave a tapestry of renewed love and lasting friendships. There were evenings spent at community picnics and spontaneous visits to neighbors who had become lifelong confidants. Emily's relationship with Jack deepened through shared laughter, quiet embraces during long walks under starlit skies, and moments of profound vulnerability. One particularly memorable night, as rain whispered against the windows of the small town diner, they sat in a secluded booth. "I have always been afraid of loving deeply, for fear of losing myself," Emily admitted between soft sips of hot cocoa. Jack reached out and gently caressed her hand. "Sometimes, love is not about being lost, but about finding parts of ourselves we thought were gone," he assured her, his eyes brimming with both longing and understanding. Yet, Emily's journey was not solely woven from the threads of romance. Her path of personal growth was also illuminated by the quiet influence of her parents, who had always been her guiding lights even from afar. Although her mother had passed away several years earlier, her memory permeated every corner of Ashford, the old family house, the creek where she used to pick wild flowers, and even the little bridge where her father now sat daily, reflecting on days gone by. One chilly winter afternoon, as Emily sat on that very bridge with a steaming cup of tea in hand, she felt her mother's presence and an overwhelming sense of reassurance. "Mom, I'm trying to find my way," she murmured softly. In that serene moment, with frost painting delicate patterns on the railing, she began to understand that grief and love often coexisted in the heart, each making the other even more profound. The community of Ashford proved to be a source of inexhaustible support and inspiration. Meetings at the town hall, volunteer events at the community garden, and impromptu get-togethers in the old library brought Emily into contact with people from all walks of life, each sharing unique yet relatable struggles. There was Robert, a retired teacher whose gentle humor and endless compassion made him a beloved figure. "You see, Emily, life is an ongoing lesson," he once imparted during one of their walks along the park's winding pathways. "Every challenge is a chapter waiting to be written in the story of who we become." His words resonated deeply with her, prompting a re-evaluation of her own life's narrative, a narrative not defined by losses or regrets, but by the unwavering courage to write new beginnings. In the midst of these heartwarming encounters, Emily also found herself revisiting the passions of her youth. She returned to the old art studio where as a little girl she would sit for hours sketching the changing landscapes around Ashford. With paint-stained fingers and a soul thirsty for both color and expression, she began to create once again, each brush stroke an exploration of her inner world. The act of painting became therapeutic, a medium through which she could release both her sorrows and her newfound hopes. "Every color here has its own story," she confided during one reflective session with her best friend Catherine, who marveled at the vivid revival of creativity. "Red for the passion that still burns inside me, blue for the calm I'm beginning to embrace, and yellow to remind me of the joy in even the smallest moments." It was during these creative sessions that Emily started to understand the interconnectedness of life's many layers: love and loss, happiness and heartache, beginnings and endings. The town of Ashford, with its time-worn buildings and gentle pace, offered a perfect counterpoint to the hectic world she had left behind, presenting her with the space needed to heal, to grow, and ultimately, to love more deeply. As winter gave way to spring, the atmosphere in Ashford transformed once more. Fresh blossoms unfurled along the sidewalks, and the community came alive with renewed energy. Emily, invigorated by her inner metamorphosis, began to actively engage in local causes. She volunteered at a community center for underprivileged children and led art classes that not only revived her passion for painting but also brought smiles to many young faces. "Art is the language of the soul," she would say, encouraging the children to express themselves without fear or restraint. In those classes, amid bursts of laughter and moments of quiet concentration, Emily found that teaching was as much about learning as it was about giving. Every shared story, every heartfelt smile, built a bridge between her and the people who began to rely on the small, yet immeasurably important, kindness she radiated. In one of these classes, a sweet girl named Lily, no more than 8 years old, once shyly approached her after class. "Miss Emily, when I draw my picture, do you feel happy?" Lily asked, eyes wide with innocent wonder. Emily knelt down to meet her gaze, a warmth spreading through her heart. "Yes, Lily," she answered softly, "each stroke, each color reminds me that happiness is always there, even in the small things." That moment, delicate and profound, was a reminder that love and growth are not measured in grand gestures alone, they are found in the everyday miracles of kindness and connection. The seasons continued their cyclical dance, and with each shift in the weather, Emily's inner landscape evolved further. Conversations with Jack deepened, their dialogues, both tender and raw, navigated the complexities of vulnerability. On an unusually serene summer evening, as fireflies began to twinkle in the twilight, Jack and Emily sat on a weathered porch swing outside his modest home. The soft creaking of the swing was the only sound that accompanied their silence. Finally, Jack's voice broke the stillness. Emily, I've never felt so alive as I do when I'm with you. I realize now that the fear of loss has held me back from truly loving, and you've shown me that love is not about perfection, but about accepting life's beautiful, messy reality. Emily's eyes shimmered with tears of gratitude, and she whispered, I once thought I had to be whole before I could love someone, but maybe it's the loving that completes us. Their exchange was not a proclamation of a fairy tale romance, but a sincere acknowledgement of two souls gradually learning to trust and open up to each other. Yet, even as love blossomed between Emily and Jack, personal challenges continued to appear like unexpected rains. There were days when old insecurities crept in, whispering doubts and forcing her to confront obstacles she had long tried to forget. Late one autumn night, as she sat alone by the window watching the rain race down the glass, Emily recalled the voices of criticism from her past, voices that once convinced her she was not enough. In the profound solitude of that rainy hour, she wrote letters to her former self, addressing every wound and every unhealed scar. I am not defined by what has been lost, she penned, but by the strength I have discovered in rising every time I have fallen. The act of writing became a cathartic ritual, a release that allowed her to mend the broken fragments of her soul and turn them into a mosaic of resilience and self-love. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and soon the once nervous pangs of self-doubt faded beneath the steady cadence of personal triumphs. Emily's renewed commitment to her art led to a local exhibition in Ashford's community centre, where the vibrant emotions captured on her canvases resonated with the hearts of many. Neighbors, friends, and even strangers lined the gallery halls, each remarking on the raw beauty and honesty of her work. Catherine, ever supportive, squeezed her hand passionately. Your paintings tell the story of a woman who has faced her demons and emerged even more radiant, she said with a proud smile. In that moment, surrounded by affirming voices and the unmistakable glow of acceptance, Emily realized that she had discovered a newfound confidence, a belief in the possibility of a future crafted not by past failures, but by the limitless potential of love, courage, and creativity. In this ongoing tapestry of self-discovery, friendship, and romance, the supportive hum of Ashford's community formed a backdrop of enduring significance. At local gatherings and community events, Emily encountered familiar faces who had become integral to her story. There was Thomas, the wise, silver-haired owner of the town's hardware store, who was always ready with a sage piece of advice, Olivia, a vivacious event planner with a knack for turning even the dullest of days into moments of celebration, and Marcus, a gentle soul who had found solace in tending the community's rose garden. Each of these individuals played a unique role in helping Emily piece together her own narrative, reminding her that one was never truly alone when the bonds of human connection wove through every experience. The gentle interplay of hope and hardship was mirrored in the everyday dialogues exchanged on sunlit porches and bustling street corners. On one such memorable evening, gathering with friends at a beloved local diner, the conversation turned reflective. Sometimes, mused Olivia as she stirred her coffee thoughtfully, it's the simplest moments, a shared smile, a kind gesture that remind us that the heart is inherently resilient. The sentiment resonated deeply, sparking an engaging discussion about the nature of love and the ways in which vulnerability could become a source of beauty rather than despair. With every shared experience, Emily's world grew richer, more vibrant, and overwhelmingly full of the promise that, despite the harshness of past trials, the future was hers to define. As midsummer dawned, so too did a renewed spark in Emily's journey. The sultry days and star-studded nights symbolized not just the warmth of the sun, but the warmth that had been kindled within her over the course of the year. In a quiet moment one evening, while embracing the gentle hum of crickets and the distant murmur of the town preparing for another day, she found herself writing in a journal a reflective chronicle of her experiences and the myriad emotions that accompanied them. I have weathered storms, learned that love is not a destination but a journey, she wrote, her pen moving with a deliberate, heartfelt cadence. I have discovered that in every quiet moment of solitude, there lies a spark of brilliance, a promise of tomorrow. With each carefully chosen word, Emily released the burdens of the past and stepped boldly into a future illuminated by love, compassion, and the unwavering support of her community. One day, as the sun broke through the morning mist over Ashford, it brought not just light, but the promise of new awakenings. Jack and Emily, now inseparable in spirit and heart, decided to take a scenic drive through the rolling countryside that framed the town. As they cruised along winding roads bordered by budding trees and fields sprinkled with wild flowers, they laughed, reminisced, and strategized about their dreams for the future. "I've always believed that every road we take, no matter how winding, holds the promise of discovery," Jack remarked with a reflective smile. Emily nodded in agreement, her heart swelling with gratitude. "And sometimes," she added softly, "the most important discovery is learning to embrace the love that surrounds us every day." The landscape outside, bathed in the soft glow of a new day, became a mirror to their inner transformation, a testament to the fact that even after years of wandering, one could always find a place of belonging and hope in the quiet corners of life. Yet, the journey was not without its moments of introspection and challenge. As she sat in the calm of her newly reimagined study one rainy afternoon, Emily pondered the many layers of her life, the dreams deferred, the wounds slowly healing, and the endless possibilities that lay before her. "I was so afraid of being vulnerable," she admitted to herself, looking at a framed photograph of her younger self smiling unguardedly, "but vulnerability has become my strength. It teaches me that true growth comes when we allow ourselves to be seen." The realization was liberating. The scars of old hurts were not marks of failure, but symbols of survival, of battles fought and lessons learned. In that quiet hour of solitude, she vowed to never again let fear hold her captive from experiencing the full spectrum of life's beauty. In the heart of Ashford, where every face told its own tale, the community continued to be a source of gentle encouragement. At the annual town festival, a beloved tradition marked by string lights, shared meals, and impromptu music, neighbors, old friends, and family gathered to celebrate the magic of togetherness. It was here that Emily, with Jack by her side, felt the full force of the human spirit, warm, resilient, and infinitely generous. As laughter mingled with the sweet strains of a local band, she realized that every moment of struggle had led her to this point of profound gratitude. The festival became a living, breathing testament to the idea that while the journey of life was dotted with uncertainty, its true beauty was found in the shared experiences of love, loss, and eventual redemption. One unforgettable night during the festival, as the town square glowed under the light of countless lanterns, Emily found herself wrapped in the comforting embrace of both friendship and romance. In a quiet corner, away from the boisterous celebration, she and Catherine sat side by side. "I used to think that returning to Ashford meant accepting my past as it was a series of unresolved chapters," Emily confessed, her eyes glistening with both regret and newfound understanding. Catherine smiled warmly. "Sometimes, dear, it's not about the chapters we left unfinished, but about how we choose to write the coming ones," she replied sagely. Her words, simple yet profound, echoed in Emily's heart, reinforcing her belief that every day was a chance for renewal, and every relationship, no matter how fleeting or enduring, contributed a verse to the long, beautiful poem that was life. The passing of time wove a tapestry of cherished moments, and as Emily's story continued in Ashford, love and friendship formed its very heartbeat. With Jack, her confidant and partner, she learned that love demanded both courage and surrender. With Catherine and the other cherished friends of the town, she discovered that human connection could be a balm for even the deepest of wounds. And with every sunrise over the familiar hills of Ashford, she found the promise of tomorrow, a tomorrow that was no longer defined by regret or solitude, but by hope, resilience, and the quiet power of a heart set free. In the gentle cadence of everyday life, amidst heartfelt conversations over steaming cups of coffee, shared secrets under starry skies, and the silent acknowledgement of past regrets slowly transforming into wisdom, Emily discovered that her true journey had only just begun. The tapestry of her life, enriched by the vibrant hues of her renewed dreams and enduring relationships, glowed with a radiant beauty that was both tangible and transformative. Every laugh, every tear shed in the quiet lull of midnight, every whispered promise of a better tomorrow, became a note in the symphony of her existence, a symphony that played softly yet insistently, urging her onward even on the darkest of nights. Now, standing at the precipice of an unforeseen future in a town that had witnessed both her childhood and her most transformative moments, Emily finally understood that the hardest journeys often led to the most profound rediscoveries. She recognized that embracing love, whether for another person or for oneself, meant accepting life in all its messy, beautiful glory. The heartbreaks were not failures but rather catalysts that spurred personal growth, prompting her to seek out joy in the tiniest corners of everyday life. In a heartfelt conversation one quiet evening by the fireside in Jack's cozy living room, he said, "You know, Emily, I always believed that the threads of our past were meant to bind us, keeping us tethered to what we once were. But I see now that they can also be woven into something entirely new, something that honors our history while embracing the promise of a new beginning." Standing close together in the gentle warmth of the firelight, Emily nodded, understanding that her journey was not about erasing the past, but about integrating every experience into a future rich with meaning and compassion. The gentle hum of Ashford, the heartfelt laughter echoing in its streets, and the steadfast love of those around her all conspired to remind Emily that every ending was, in fact, the seed of a new beginning. In the soft, forgiving light of dawn, as she once again set out on a winding path lined with budding trees and the hopeful smiles of longtime friends, she felt reborn, a woman. Unburdened by past sorrows, buoyed by the promise of tomorrow, and ready to embrace every moment as a precious gift. And so, as the days turned to seasons and the gentle rhythms of Ashford carried her forward, Emily Adams lived each moment with an open heart and a resolute spirit. Her story, a continuous, unbroken narrative of love, friendship, and personal awakening, became a testament to the timeless truth that even after the darkest nights, the dawn would always bring with it the warmth of hope, the light of forgiveness, and the promise of endless new beginnings. In the heart of that small American town, where every whispered conversation and every shared smile told a story of resilience and beauty, Emily discovered that true happiness was found not in the absence of hardship, but in the courage to rise, to love, and to continuously choose hope over despair. In that sacred space between memory and possibility, where every fragile bloom of a wild flower and every echoing laugh in a sunlit park spoke of life's quiet miracles, Emily found her gentle awakening. It was a truth as timeless as the stars above and as tender as the soft embrace of a caring friend, that every soul, no matter how weathered by time or scarred by past hurts, has the power to find love again, to rewrite its story, and to light up the world with the undeniable beauty of a heart that has dared to dream. As the golden light of another day touched Ashford, Emily continued her journey, a journey defined by authenticity, grace, and a quiet determination to live a life rich with meaning. With the steady, unwavering support of friends, the healing presence of love, and the enduring beauty of a community that had embraced her through every trial and triumph, she ventured into each new day with the simple belief that even the smallest acts of kindness, every shared laugh, and every heartfelt conversation had the power to transform the ordinary into something extraordinary. And in that belief, in that gentle, unyielding promise of better tomorrows, lay the beating heart of a life fully lived. In Ashford, where every corner held a memory and each face told its own tale of resilience and hope, Emily Adams learned that in the tapestry of life, every thread, no matter how delicate or worn, was vital to creating a masterpiece of love, fellowship, and self-discovery. The winds of change had carried her far and wide, yet in returning to the tender embrace of her hometown, she had finally found her true calling, to live with an open heart, to cherish every connection, and to believe, above all else, that even the smallest light of hope could illuminate the darkest of paths. And so, as she stepped forward into the brilliant, uncharted horizon of her future, Emily resolved to honor every moment of her journey with every breath, every heartbeat, and every whispered promise of a new beginning. Thus, beneath the endless expanse of a starlit sky and within the rhythmic pulse of Ashford's enduring spirit, Emily's gentle awakening continued, each day a fresh canvas, each smile a reaffirmation of life's infinite capacity for love, and every soul she touched a reminder that the journey toward self-discovery is as boundless and beautiful as the human heart itself.